It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNRNetwork websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Oh, it's such an exciting time of year. Only another 15 days until they come, finally.
What are you all happy about?
Because it's that time of year again. It's almost time for the Ghost of Christmas Presents to be here.
Uh-huh.
You know, Ghost of Christmas Presents, the person that brings you all the presents and puts them under the tree.
Santa Claus?
No, not that big guy with the red suit. The Ghost of Christmas Presents. You know, the one that brought Scrooge all the nice things.
Have you been snorting cinnamon again?
Isn't that what's supposed to be happening?
No.
Oh.
And stay out of Mommy's special eggnog.
I hate eggnog. I wouldn't drink Mommy's special eggnog.
Good.
Which you don't have any anyway.
All the more for Mommy.
Oh, it's holiday season. We're continuing our year-end review stuff, plus holiday stuff, and a lot more. All in a big fat jumble of presents. Right here, right now, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Like sands through the Ghost of Christmas Presents.
This is Subject Cinema, and please don't make that a thing.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
So exactly what do you mean by a thing?
You know, a thing. When we do something and it sticks in our heads and we drag it out at some other point to make the other one laugh. That
well,
thing.
What's wrong with the Ghost of Christmas Presents being a thing?
I
think it's kind of funny.
That sucks.
Thank you, Cartman. Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 592. Ooh, we're getting close to 600 shows.
Yeah.
Day and date, Sunday, December 10th, 2017. We're in the middle of our December year-end stuff. We got a little bit of everything because we have all kinds of interesting stuff popping up this week.
Yes.
We have a number of critics groups at things now. Boston is currently discussing... they were currently discussing, now they're at lunch because they're talking about eating pizza, discussing their awards. Boston Online Critics came out with their decision yesterday. Plus, we got a bunch of other stuff going on, a bunch of other awards. And how was your week?
All right.
Mine
busy.
sucked.
Yeah, I know. Yours sucked.
I was down sick for 3 days this
I know.
week with some kind of a weird acid reflux
Yes,
attack
I know.
of some sort. I was in so much pain on Tuesday and Wednesday I couldn't even get out of bed.
I know. I was here too.
Yes, but you left me alone. You went to work.
Because I said, do you want me to stay and take care of you? No. Get out and go to work. Okay.
I'm an elephant that way, she
You
says.
are. He is. I mean, all you ladies out there, this is just to the ladies right now. You know, so many women I know talk about how when their man gets sick, even, you know, if it's anything from a stub toe to, you know, pneumonia, they turn into a total baby where they're lying on the couch being like, take care of me. Not me. Oh, no. Mine could be tucking his entrails back in and taping it up with duct tape. I'm fine. No, I don't need to go to the ER. No, I don't need you to make me soup. Go away. So I call him an elephant because you know that whole, you know, thing about elephants going off to die when they're old or sick or something like that? That's my life. You know, welcome to my life.
Brother.
Because I'm all like, you know, do you want a blanket? Do you want some orange juice? Do you want whatever? And he's like, get the fork away from me.
I am never that rude to you. I usually say, no, I'm fine. I can take care of myself. Thank you. Now, unlike her, who falls to jelly and would like to be pampered every second of every day, which I also don't give her. So, it's equal treatment.
Yeah.
No, I was terribly sick this week.
You
and
were,
I
and
got
felt
this
really
big
bad.
project we're trying to get finished, and I got other people involved with it, and I was supposed to be done with the copy for today, and I'm not just, it's going to be a week late now because of my sickness, and I'm just like, argh! That's just the way it is, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, well. As we head into year in review territory.
Yes.
For some reason, Kim wants to talk about superhero movies.
Well, I think...
Not like we had enough this year.
Well, see, that's where I'm going with this.
All right. We'll be right back with that. It's coming up right here.
When Subject Cinema...
No, not When Subject Cinema returns. Right here. Okay, so exactly why do we need to talk about superhero movies again? We've talked about them like 80 times this year.
Well, obviously, this decade has been a great time to be a superhero fan. If you're, you know, a fan, you know, a superhero movie fan, it's a wonderful time to be one of those people. Because there have been a lot of really great superhero movies in the past, I would say decade, 15 years, around there. I would say that would be accurate, wouldn't you?
No, the real ball started rolling 10 years ago in 2008 with the release of Iron Man. Ever since then, it's been good.
Well,
there were a few in the early part of the 2000s, but nothing huge. Not the way it is now, where we get 80,000 superhero movies a week. Overkill.
Well, see, that's what I wanted to talk about, is the whole idea of, can there be too much of a good thing?
Yes. Mark Hamill brought that up, as a matter of fact, over the weekend. He's being a little snippy about the fact that their next Star Wars movie is coming out just 5 months from now, instead of 2 or 3 years, because Solo hits in May. Right. And then there'll be another movie at the end of 2019, the third part of this, or maybe in May of 2019. So it works in every genre.
Well, it does. See, that's where I wanted to go with this. I mean, the whole concept of a superhero movie is not exactly a new idea. I mean, all the way going way back into the 40s, you know, when they had serials and things like that, movie serials and things. You had Captain America, you had Batman, you know, things like that.
I would actually, changing gears slightly, I would actually say that the original superhero films were the ones featuring, I've forgotten his name, the Chinese super karate guy from the 1920s.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Wong Fei-hung.
Wong Fei-hung, thank you. I think those were probably the first superhero movies because he was considered a superhero to the Chinese audiences. So that would probably be the first thing we could consider that way.
Don't know. Wong Fei-hung is more of a folk hero.
But yeah, but he was played as a Superman in these shorts where he would kick the A out of the bad guys.
Well, that's okay. If you want to
just an argument.
No. If you want to take it that way, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. I was kind of viewed him more as a folk hero or a national hero, you know.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But
you know, that's your take on it, and that's cool. The whole concept of the superhero film, though, I mean, it really took off. I would say more it took off a lot in the late 70s with Superman the movie, And then you had the 80s where there were a few things done, but then you had, 1989's Batman, which showed that you could do a superhero film and still have it appealing to both children and adults, and it's kept going since then. And the 2000s have really hit a really high point, and it's, climbed and climbed and climbed.
Well, I disagree. I think it's only been since 2008, because there was a lot of crap that came out in the 2000s, superhero-wise, that were just terrible. Daredevil, Elektra, most of them were Marvel properties. They were all bad films, and they nearly wiped out the genre until they started connecting. The only good stuff to come out in that part of the 2000s was the original Spider-Man movies with Sam Raimi directing.
I don't agree with that at all. You had the original X-Men films, which we both enjoyed. I know a lot of people bitched about.
I enjoyed the first one and the third one. I hated the second one.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they were few and far between. But I'm saying around the X-Men and the Spider-Man movies, there was a lot of crap. You don't agree with that?
Well, I think a lot of smaller movies came out that didn't get
no. Anyway,
the
none
love
of that
that
has
they
anything
deserved.
to do with this
But here we are
movies.
at 2017. That's where I'm going with this. Here we are at 2017, and things have gone up and up and up and up and up in the superhero genre to the point where we actually have what I think it's fair to say, two actual movie universes based on the comic books. You have the Marvel movie universe and the DC extended universe. For some reason, they refuse to call it a movieverse. I don't know why, but they do. And we've hit that point. And I mean, back in, if you asked me back in the 2000s, would we ever have got here? I would have said no. I would have said they'll never do it. But the fact that it's happened, I think that that's really amazing and cool. But you also run into a problem of, is it too much of a good thing? Now, you look at what happened with, if you look back a few, generations ago to the Western film. I mean, you had everybody making Westerns about, you had established characters from pulp novels or things like that. You had all these different things that people were doing that were all Westerns. And as far as, for the time, they were expensive, but they weren't they weren't enormously expensive the way superhero movies are today.
Westerns were really kind of cheap compared to some of the big. They were cheap to do because they didn't have sets and stuff to build.
Right, they didn't have big song and dance sets.
You go up
and
in the
things like
Culver
that.
City area, and it was still woods and prairie at the time, and shoot your film.
Yeah.
Not like these big, expensive period pieces like the studios were doing at the time.
Right. I mean, if you had a bunch of guys and some horses and some guns and some people who could pass for Native Americans, because
it was a lot cheaper to produce than the Fall of Atlanta.
It didn't really matter to certain people whether or not someone was a Native American or not. We're looking at you, Anthony Quinn. But the whole idea that you had everybody making a Western, and there were Western pictures out the wazoo, and now you come to now in 2017, and if you make a Western picture, most people look at you like, what? Why would you do that?
There's been 10 or 12 Westerns that have come out this year. Not all of them have been big budget movies. The only one that actually will be is Hostiles.
But that's my point. The whole Western genre, it didn't go away. And there'll always be a group of people that will enjoy those kind of films. But for the most part, it faded into the background. And I think a lot of that had to do... Well, there were a lot of mitigating factors with that. But I think one of the big factors was that at one point in time, the movie market was completely saturated with Westerns. And you go through these things every every decade. You have these films, you have a genre of films that overshadows everything else.
Yeah, we've never been as saturated with superhero films, though, as we have been with Westerns or horror films. There's 2 or 3 horror films come out every week, judging from 3 Minute Weekend's list every Friday.
But the thing about the horror genre that I think is different in that respect is that the horror genre can be broken down into so many smaller things. You have the whole...
Well, I'm just talking basically your dead teenager film.
You mean a slasher film?
Not all of them are slashers, but they all involve dead teenagers.
But what I'm saying is you have the whole banner of horror films, and then you have smaller things under that. So it's not quite the same thing as what happened with the whole Western idea where, it's just good guys, bad guys, and occasionally an Indian thrown in, shoot 'em up stuff. Basically that's the plot of a lot of Westerns. You had the good guy, you had the bad guy, and you had people shooting at each other, and then somebody rides off into the sunset at the end. With the horror genre, you have all these different ways you can go. You have body horror, you have supernatural horror, you have straight up, all these different things that you can do. Now, the same thing can be true of the superhero film because you have so much to choose from. That's one of the good things I think about the superhero film, as a whole. When you have an entire universe to choose from, you can make a movie about, obviously the studios want you to make a movie about a well-established character. Let's just take, for argument's sake, let's take the DC universe, the DC extended universe. I don't know why they can't call it the DC movie universe, but they don't. Anyway, obviously the studios want you to make a movie that's going to bring them back money. So their whole thing is to make a movie about a character that's well known and well established in the public consciousness. A character like Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman or a character like that. But if you have someone that wants to do something different in a superhero universe like the DC universe, could you imagine with somebody with a really good idea of what they're doing and a really good knowledge of the material could do if they decided to do a film about a more obscure character? And when I say obscure, this is not a slam on the character, but something like, one of the characters that you're always talking about, Dr. Fate. I think a Dr. Fate movie would be really cool, except for right now people would probably be screaming it would be too much of a Doctor Strange knockoff. But if there's so much you can choose from in a superhero universe because it's so vast. Don't you agree?
I do, yes.
But the problem is you do run into an issue there because if you make a superhero movie about a character that's not as well known, you run into a problem with the fact that maybe 20% of the public goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe they made a movie about, just name somebody obscure. Come on, hit me. Anybody?
Blue Beetle.
Fine. That's good. That's good, actually. You have 20% of the people going, oh my gosh, I can't believe they finally made a movie about the Blue Beetle, and then you've got 80% of the the movie going audience going, who? Or something like that.
Okay, so how does all this pertain to 2017
But my point is that now we've gotten to a point where, because they have grown the superhero universes so big with DC and Marvel both, that you have this whole idea where you can pull in these. Seriously, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, but how many people knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were before the movies came out?
Yeah.
If you walked up to Joe Average on the street and said, hi, Joe Average, do you know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are? They would have said, what?
Those are those idiots out there singing Hooked on a Feeling.
But that's my point. Before those films came out, they didn't know who they were. Now if you ask them, hey, do you know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are? They'd probably
know. Yeah, it's that cool squirrel and that cool tree guy and the three humans that I could care less about.
Okay, number one, he's a raccoon.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Squirrel, raccoon, duh.
Yeah.
It's a raccoon, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but my point is those guys were kind of on the obscure side, and now because they made a movie about them, boom, they're right out there in the public consciousness. And because you can do that with a universe, and the fact that they haven't made superhero movies so insular like they did when they first started with them, and they've actually acknowledged the fact that, yes, these superheroes are in this universe, and there are other superheroes out there that we haven't touched on yet. it does make people interested. I mean, there's that line in Justice League, the whole no lanterns, no Kryptonians line that Steppenwolf gives. I mean, we know there were Kryptonians on Earth at that point because Superman, but the whole, no lanterns line, obviously that's setting up for the Green Lantern Corps movie that we do know is coming.
Well, no, it just sets up the fact that he was defeated by a couple of Green Lanterns helping the Amazons out years and years and years ago.
Right. But it's the whole idea that
Notice he doesn't say no manhunters.
No, that's true. No, that is true.
So there's all kinds of different things there. Anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is, I do think that it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing because you do have some people out there being like, oh, another superhero movie. I mean, I heard that when we went to the Disaster Artist. When we were standing in line for the Disaster Artist at Boston AMC, because they put us in a line before we could go in, and that feels weird lately. You never really see that in movie theaters anymore.
That's because they don't have reserved seating at that theater yet.
Yeah, that's true too. But I was listening to the people talking around us because I'm nosy like that.
She's nosy like that.
I am.
She's nosy like that.
That and they were talking kind of loud, and I wasn't going to be like, hey, shut up. But this guy behind us was talking about like, oh, all that comes out lately is superhero movies, and oh, I'm so sick of superhero movies, and blah, 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 blah. And people are entitled to that opinion, and that's fine. If you don't like superhero movies, fine, whatever, don't go see them.
Communist.
Well, that thought did enter my mind. But since we were somewhere where I figured getting in a verbal slapdown with somebody would be frowned on, I decided to just shut my beak. But the whole idea that there are people out there that are like, oh, there's so many superhero movies and I'm so sick of them and stuff like that. I'm sure a lot of people were saying the same thing back in the day. Oh, not another Western, or oh, not another war picture, or whatever, along those lines. I don't know if it's too much of a good thing or not. I really don't feel like it is because I am a superhero fan. And I also kind of feel like when I get a little obscure reference somewhere, I sit there and I'm like, woo, yay, I hope I get a movie out of this. Like the whole thing in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, when we see the list of people that Hydra has on their hit list, and one of the names was Dr. Stephen Strange. And I did catch that. And I was like, oh, yes, a Doctor Strange movie would be awesome. That would kick ass. And look what happened. We got a Doctor Strange movie, and it did kick ass. And now he's
this is back 3 years ago from Winter Soldier you're talking, right?
Right, yeah. Okay. And now he's part of the whole Marvel movie universe, which is going to get even bigger once the 2-part Infinity Wars movies come out. It's kind of hard to explain, and I get so excited my tongue gets tangled up. I'm sorry. But you do wonder if it is, I don't think it's too much of a good thing, but then I don't usually think anything's too much of a good thing. And people running around in tights, that works fine for me. I don't know about anybody else, but that's just me. What about you? Do you think it's too much?
I don't really know. There's stuff that I don't care for. And there's stuff that everybody else likes. I didn't like most of them that came out this year. I didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy that well. Again, I liked it better than the first one. I did not like Thor Ragnarok at all. And I appear to be in the huge minority of people that are pissed at them for taking a serious comic hero and turning it into a fifth grade comedy show. And I'm sorry, I like Thor. I don't want to see comedy. He can be the butt of comedy. That's what Kat Dennings was for in the first 2 movies. I don't like that. So if we're going this way and that direction to get more and more people interested, then yes, it means there's too many because they're changing the formulas to the point where the fans aren't going to end up liking it. The critics are. And for some reason, the studios seem to think the critics are more important than the fans. If the studios didn't have their heads up their collective asses most of the time, they'd realize that no matter what, Kevin Jaggermuth over at the Playlist or David Ehrlich at IndieWire or any of these other idiots out there says about Justice League, it still has an 84% high rating from Rotten Tomatoes from the audience. The hell with what the critics say. That's the kind of stuff that's getting up my butt this year. Mm-hmm. You've got to keep this, you got to keep it in perspective, and the superhero movies are front and center because the critics tend to just rip them apart.
Yeah. That's true.
You asked.
That is true. No, I'm not. No, you're right. Well, critics have always been that way about superhero movies. I remember them being that way about, the when Batman came out in '89 or when Superman.
No, Superman and Batman were both huge critical hits. The sequels all didn't get that much, except Superman 2 did.
It depended on who you talked to. Well, a lot of critics were like, "Oh, well, these are good movies if you can deal with the fact that it's a grown man running around dressed up as a bat." Blah blah blah. They were very much.
I didn't know Armand Wright was writing reviews back then.
Yeah, it was very much. Oh well, these are good movies for their type.
Right.
It wasn't.
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
Yes, there is something wrong with it if you're saying it in that intellectual, snotty kind of way that these are good movies if you like the idea of people running around in tights.
Well, no, I don't agree. If that isn't the critics' bag, and most of the critics go for the teeny tiny micro-budgeted indies more than anything else, very few of them actually like full mainstream films unless they're really, off the wall good. Mm-hmm. Roger Ebert was always talking about movies in a very disdainful voice, but was willing to give films their due. I mean, this is a man who stood up to all the critics and gave Nicolas Cage's Knowing a good review, even though 95% of the critics just ripped it to shreds. And he did the same for Emmerich's 2012. 2012 was just lambasted by the critics, and yet Ebert gave it 3 stars and said, if you're a disaster movie fan, you're going to love this film. It's right up your alley. Mm-hmm. He didn't like it, but he knew other people would. So, yes, that's what I don't have a problem with critics doing that, but I have a problem with when they try to impose their view on other people, which is what's been going on since last year when all of them had a collective snit about the fact that a good deal of the fanboys disagreed with their opinion about how bad Batman vs. Superman was. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I'm with the fanboys. I liked that movie. I didn't see any problem with it, and I haven't seen the extended version yet, although we have the DVD. And it irritates me.
It irritates me too.
And it's all that critical hate is starting to trickle down. The fans who like these movies are sick and tired of getting lambasted by these critics that, are out there, criticizing the smallest of crap on these films.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, Justice League has tons of problems. It's a fun film, though, but it has tons of problems. And I say that as a loyal Justice League fan for 40 years.
Yeah, and Flash fan. Right?
And Flash fan for even longer. There's just the fans are getting worn down by the fact that the critics seem to do their worst to lambast every movie that the public really likes.
Right. Well, see, that's something that I brought up.
I mean, and it gets really, really ridiculous. And I went into this in a column about 10 days ago on eCinemaOne. If you haven't seen it, please go over and read it. Some of these critics irritate the hell out of me, and it isn't just the superhero genre either. It's other genres, science fiction, fantasy, horror, even as murder mysteries. There's certain critics who can't seem to remember that they are a film reviewer. David Ehrlich, who's now the head chief film critic at IndieWire, drives me up the wall because his idea of a good film review these days is 12 medium-sized paragraphs, the first 10 of which have either the words Donald or Trump in them somewhere, and the final 2 have actually got to do with the film. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, could we please just grow up and move on? And let's get back to the business of entertainment.
Yep.
I'm sick and tired of blah, 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 blah. Because when the liberals don't get their way, and this has happened a lot of times, all they do is spend the next 4 years crying in their wine. And, I've freaking had it with the Hollywood types who keep using this and keep insisting that they can work this into their conversation without being smart enough to recognize the fact that that is the exact freaking reason that man is in the White House right now. Because middle American person, average Joe, has had it with the Hollywood crowd. And that is exactly what they're showing in the movies this year, too, by not going to most of this crap that Hollywood has put out this year. Okay. Well, soapbox moment over.
All I was going to say was that conservative people do the same thing.
Conservative people do the same thing, yes.
But
they're not as loud, usually.
No, but they're just as nasty. And
no,
they throw...
I do not agree. Absolutely do not agree.
Okay, fine.
No, I'm just telling you, I don't agree with that.
Then don't agree with it, fine.
All right.
I was just going to say they get nasty because they throw God into it. Something terrible goes wrong. Oh, God's angry because you did this, this, and this.
I have never heard anybody actually say that except these TV preachers. I don't actually hear members of Congress saying that, or average Joe.
A lot of people listen to, unfortunately.
Well, no, they don't really anymore. It's like, I'm just like, why have we gotten to the point? There is a great article in Paste Magazine, which is one of my favorite online sites. If you've never been there, you need to spend time there regularly. A great article from their television critic this weekend about the fact that the Oscar season stuff and the film festival and Oscar season are in bed with each other, and they're leaving out that one giant factor, the audience.
Yep.
And it's absolutely true. I'll put a link to that in the show notes because you guys need to read that article. It's so well written and so right on the money.
Well, some people have always considered, some people being me, have always considered the Oscars and all that stuff to be one long. I don't know if I can use this term, so I won't.
Could you come up with a substitute term then?
Can I use the word circle jerk?
No.
All right.
But you just did, so leave it there anyway. Go ahead.
That they've always been one long pat on the back session done as a conga line. It's basically, oh, you're wonderful. No, you're wonderful. No, you're more wonderful. And it's like, ugh. Why do you think people want to watch this stuff? And apparently, if you look at the ratings for the Oscars lately, they don't.
Yes, I know, because people consider the fact that, and we're way off topic. This is not where you wanted to go. I'm sorry. The whole thing with not just, there's actually blowback now coming from a lot of the critics over the fact that Ann Thompson, who is one of the deans of Hollywood columnists these days, is actively championing Wonder Woman as an Oscar contender. Mm-hmm. Wonder Woman just made the AFI list for best top 10, and it also made National Board of Review's top 10.
Which it deserved.
It did. But I'm saying that, they can't even fathom the idea of giving Wonder Woman an Oscar, even though it starred a woman, directed by a woman, co-written by a woman, and it was a damn fine film. Mm-hmm. That is such hypocrisy. It really is. They'd much rather give it to these highbrow, low-key, independent films that are good. And I will use it, because the gentleman in Paste used this for an example too. I will use Call Me By Your Name as the example, because it is not playing in Boston. I don't know if we're going to get to see it in time for the Poppies and Rosies. I'd like to.
I thought it played at Kendall, no?
And hasn't opened yet. It might open this weekend, this coming weekend.
I don't know where I got that.
But it hasn't played yet.
Okay.
And I'm like, and this gentleman who wrote this, he's a member of the LGBTQ Film Critics Society in New Orleans, hasn't seen it either because they haven't sent him a screener, and it won't open in New Orleans till after January. So I'm like, this is going to be, and as he put it, people will be talking about this and seeing it for the first time after the next big buzz comes out at Sundance, which happens before the Oscars. So people are going to be talking about next year's Oscars before they even get to this year's, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is. Excuse me. What I was going to say
I'm sorry, I went off on a total tangent. I'm just fed up this weekend. I've not had a good weekend with this stuff, but I'm just really irritated with Hollywood right now. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say was, when we were talking about critical reaction and response to not only superhero movies, but you brought up something that I was going to bring up, their reaction and general nose upturnedness toward science fiction, fantasy, horror, anything from those genres.
Although one of this year's big Oscar contenders is a horror film, Get Out.
Yeah, it is.
So it's being called a horror film. Even though the Golden Globes have classed it as a comedy. Anyway.
I'm not... No, I guess I would qualify it as a horror film.
The writer, Jordan Peele, is that right?
Yeah.
Classified it as a horror film.
Well, he should know. He wrote
it. And yet he was okay with them putting it in the comedy category at the Golden Globes, which makes no sense. Anyway, there's another thing about the award season.
Well, they don't have a science fiction, fantasy, horror category.
No, but it makes more sense as a drama, but they know they won't have a chance to win at the drama.
But my point is something that we brought up last week. Is that critics lately have, in the last, I would say, 10 years or so, maybe longer than that you have critics that don't just attack a film or a specific director or a specific actor, which they do always when it comes to certain people, but they attack the fans as well.
Well, I think that happens more often with genre films than anything else.
That they make it very much, if you like this type of film or this specific film, you're stupid.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Or you're
with
a
Batman
bad person.
Superman. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. And that
the critics didn't like being told that they were wrong.
That crap has to stop.
Yeah.
That's
it isn't
just
going
ridiculous.
to, but it should, but it isn't going to.
I think it has to.
I think actually this year has been. That's been one of the big stories of 2017. It has been the critics versus the fans. It's never been this vitriolic before.
No, it hasn't.
The critics have been more vociferous about, expressing themselves about what idiots they think the fans are. And the fans have basically told the critics where they can stick it where the sun doesn't shine.
Yeah.
So what's happening is the critics are destroying their industry and their jobs. More and more critics are being laid off every day. Not just movie critics, but television critics, theater critics, and food critics are being laid off every day. And it's mostly their own fault for attacking the fans, and the fans telling them to go stick it.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, because this might come as a shock to some people. People don't like to be told they suck. Just because
see November 2016.
Yeah. People don't like to be told...
Deplorables. Remember that word?
Yeah.
Okay.
People don't like to be told your opinion doesn't matter because I went to film school and you didn't. That tends to piss people off. And when
remember, we're all Africans, aren't we?
Don't. Well, I keep saying we're all animals, and people yell at me, and I'm like, well, we're called the human animal, aren't we? But and then
we're all part of one human family.
In the circle of life.
Oh, geez, can we stop? Now we're getting a bit ridiculous.
Well, I'm just trying to be silly, just to try and.
I know it's been a very serious discussion. Yeah. I apologize. I wouldn't mean to go off on people, but it's just, I'm sorry.
It is the whole idea of these people being basically standing there, hand on one hip and the other finger in your face, scolding you, saying what a terrible person you are because you like these kind of movies, and people going, you know what? F you, and turning around and walking off. And then these people have no idea why they're getting a pink slip.
There's only a few movies this year that the critics and the fans seem to be in agreement on. And a couple of them are superhero movies, Thor and Guardians. Mm-hmm. But also Get Out, which the fans adored as well as the critics.
Yeah.
We didn't see it. And
Coco.
And now The Disaster Artist is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It'll be interesting to see what happens when Star Wars The Last Jedi comes out.
Oh, are you kidding? It's going to be a love affair between the critics and fans. They're both going to be salivating this Thursday, actually. We won't see it till Friday, but next Thursday. I mean, seriously, this started off as a superhero thing, and I'm sorry. Yeah. What was your point with the superhero movie?
My point is that some people a lot of people this year have started with this whole, the backlash has started, it's too much, it's all too much and stuff like that. To which my response is, I don't know if people would be saying all this stuff if it wasn't the superhero genre, because the whole point of the superhero genre is that you have people who believe in an ideal and are willing to put their lives on the line to protect innocent people. And even though some people's interpretations of superheroes are darker and grittier, and some people don't like that, and blah, 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 it's still the whole idea that somebody stands up and says, enough, this is wrong, and I'm going to try and make it right. And some people apparently have a problem with that.
Well, you know what I think is interesting? As you said, people are saying there's a backlash about it and everything. Mm-hmm. If you think there's superhero overkill and stuff, there's one really super easy solution to the whole problem. Don't watch it. Don't go. There you go.
My God, you're brilliant.
Brilliant! I'm absolutely brilliant, you wanker! Anyway. It's a Watch Mojo joke. Anyway.
Yeah. We'd like your opinion. I mean, we really would.
We never get it, but we'd like your opinion at Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com.
Yeah.
Let us know your opinion about this particular aspect of 2017.
Do you think we've hit too many superhero movies? Do you think we've hit the tipping point?
Do you think TC is losing his freaking mind when it comes to his opinions on the entertainment industry anymore? Whatever you'd like to say, please.
Do you think Kim deserves sainthood for having to listen to this all day long?
All day long? It's not like the car shot him or something. Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
PNR Network shows depend on our listeners. It's you that makes us who we are. Help us bring you all the best we can. Become a Patreon patron. Donations start at just $2 a month, and the more patrons we can get, the more we'll be able to offer. You can get great perks, plus exclusive blogs and podcasts available only for being a patron as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So please, become a Patreon patron today. We need you. Patreon.com/PNR Networks.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
Keeping with the supposed superhero theme of the original first topic, which we went into a whole bunch of other stuff, there was an article in Variety this week about how Justice League's disappointing, box office, which they didn't make their money back even with the overseas stuff. They came close, but didn't quite make it. There's going to be a major shakeup at DC, and it said that Matt Reeves, while Ben Affleck is expected to show up as Batman in the Flashpoint film, which has now been on hiatus right now.
I was going to say, has it officially been scuppered?
It's been shifted again.
Okay.
I think it's a stupid idea to do Flashpoint at this point. Anyway, I think they just need a straight Flash film, not a Flashpoint, which completely bollockses up the universe. Now, Nerdist writer Rosie Knight has taken it upon herself to give us 9 people, notice I did not say actors, 9 people she considers worthy of stepping into the Caped Crusader's cowl.
Yep.
Now, let's consider this for a moment. If the Batman is going to be a standalone film and it is set in the DCEU, then it necessarily needs to be a Batman of the same general age range that Ben Affleck is playing him.
The next film, as far as I know, is just going to be called The Batman.
Right.
Which is going to be... it's not an origin story. It's not a flashback.
Unless Matt is planning to do The Batman, the cartoon series.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either, but he was 26 in that.
Yeah, and just starting out.
And just starting out. Well, no, he'd been at it for a while.
He
was at it long enough that he had a bat signal and Commissioner Gordon was friends and so on and so forth. But there's... What I'm saying is, it's not that version was not the wizened, older Batman that Ben Affleck has been playing.
Right.
Now, which doesn't make any sense. So, here we go. These are the names that Ms. Knight has suggested, I hope tongue-in-cheek, although you really can't tell. She says, we've consulted our back computer and collected the best, brightest, and most unexpected choices for you right here. First on the list, Ruth Negga.
Now, for those of you who are picking your jaw up off the floor, you obviously know who Ruth Negga is. Congratulations.
Ruth Negga was our 2016 #1 female rising star.
The star of the film Loving. She has also appeared on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
She's a regular on Preacher on AMC.
Yes. And
notice the pronoun she is in the front of that.
Yes.
She is not he. Batman.
Yeah.
Batman.
Okay. Yeah, we get it.
Man does not have
tuck it back
chesticles.
Tuck it back in your pants, dear. She does say in her article that Matt Reeves has taught. This is a quote from the article. Quote: Matt Reeves has constantly talked about this being an Elseworlds style story. End quote.
Right.
Now, for those of you who don't know what the Elseworlds are,
it's the modern version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Basically.
No. The Elseworlds are basically DC's version of Marvel's What If. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, the What If comics...
We get into too much explanation here.
The What If comics were Marvel's...
Are DC's imaginary tales for the modern day.
Yes.
They used to have imaginary tales in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. So the Elseworld stories are the idea that you take established characters, put them somewhere else, and do something completely different. Like
Superman Red Sun is an Elseworld story.
Like gender flip them, or Batman's a vampire, or whatever, and blah, blah.
But Ruth Negga? Really? As Batman? I have to stress that.
Yeah.
Okay, second choice. Josh Hutcherson.
Excuse me. I have to go off and laugh hysterically.
Now, that's not Josh's acting talent.
No, it's not.
But Josh is 5'6".
Josh is amazing.
Batman is not. It's not made for. He'd be fine for Robin.
Yeah.
I am
vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. I'm down here. No, we don't need that. No offense. And I love you, Josh.
And I have a ridiculous dessert named after my Hunger Games character at the Showcase Cinemas.
Oh, you're never going to let that go, are you?
No.
Like a dog with a bone on that.
Number 3, Avan or Avan, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Joggia. Now, I freely admit, of her choices, I like this one the best if they're going to go for a younger Batman. Mm-hmm. I like Avan Joggia. He's a great actor. He's extremely good looking. And he looks like what David Mazouz would grow up into from Gotham.
I agree. I think that that is actually a good choice. Avan is probably best known to people who watch the Sci-Fi Channel for being on Ghost Wars. And I do agree with you. I think he could be... If they ever get to the end of Gotham and they show Bruce putting on the suit... I think that Avan would be the person they'd cast.
Well, he's already putting on the suit. He just hasn't had the bat ears yet. He doesn't call himself Batman. He started that at the end of last season.
But it's not Batman yet.
No, not yet.
It's just a dude running around in black with a ski mask.
No, he's got a cowl.
He's got the cowl?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. We haven't been watching.
Just no ears, though.
Yeah, okay. The next person, Chiwetel Ejiofor, no.
I love Chewie. He's a great actor, and I've loved him in everything I've ever seen him in. But he's already got the big bad job on Doctor Strange.
Yes.
So, no.
Doctor Strange's character, Baron Mordo, who he is portraying, is Doctor Strange's arch nemesis in the comics, which means he will have a larger part in the Marvel movie universe, which means he's not going to have time to be Batman.
And not to mention the fact that there's the same thing going here as going for the James Bond people who insist that Idris Elba is not right for James Bond because Bond is listed as a white, middle-aged male in all of the Ian Fleming books. I don't think it would be as bad with Batman.
No, I don't either.
I think superheroes have that ability. They successfully transitioned Green Lantern from Hal Jordan to Jon Stewart.
Right.
So, but if he takes over Batman, Chewie I would think, have to be a different character. I don't know, unless they completely rewrite Bruce Wayne's backstory.
If they did that, if they started from the ground up and that was this universe's Bruce Wayne,
that would be fine.
I would actually have no problem with that. But they would have to start all over again.
Next up on the list, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Again, you have the whole Batman thing. What do you think goes in the
Not to mention the fact that she's already been in the universe as Catwoman.
Yeah.
That makes absolutely no sense.
I know.
Keanu Reeves. I have less problem with this than you do. I like Keanu. He was the second choice for Doctor Strange from all accounts behind Benedict Cumberbatch. And he would have made a good Doctor Strange. Batman, I'm not so sure.
I don't know.
I mean, we know he can do the action stuff. He's done the Matrix. He's done the John Wick films. Speed. He had all these action films. He can do that.
He's also already done a comic book movie.
Yeah, he did Constantine.
Yeah.
So,
not as well
as also in the DC universe.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Not as well as the guy on TV who was also the voice of John Constantine in Justice League Dark.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know why seeing Keanu Reeves as Batman, just something in my brain goes, no. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it.
Next
is John Cho.
No.
Next. Body type is all wrong. I'm sorry. It's not that he's not athletic enough to play Batman. It's just that he's, I don't know how to say this and not sound nasty. He's slight. Batman
He doesn't have the build for it.
Batman is not slight. I don't see it. I don't. I'm sorry. Next on the list is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, this one is kind of obvious from the end of The Dark Knight Rises. They're pushing this to pick it up
where they left off at The Dark Knight Rises.
Right.
Where this guy, whose real first name happens to be, or middle name happens to be Robin, has been given the Batcave by Batman, who is supposedly died in the big nuclear explosion, but he's actually in Europe.
Except for the fact that the Nolanverse and the DCEU are completely different animals.
Not necessarily. That's where Flashpoint could come in.
Arg.
See, we have Flashpoint. For those of you who don't know what it is, haven't really touched it on the TV show yet. Flashpoint is a series.
Well, they did touch it. They did the Flashpoint stuff on the TV show, didn't they?
Not that I know of.
I think they did.
Oh, well,
I'm not sure.
Maybe. I know they did the whole different multiple Earths thing, but I don't know if they did the Flashpoint.
They called it Flashpoint, but I don't think it's the same
Flashpoint
thing as the
comics. There is an animated DC movie about it. Flash goes so fast in the Speed Force, he ends up in a different alternate future. And the heroes and everything are completely changed.
He changed the past and then wound up in another future, and everything's all effed up. Yeah.
Butterfly effect, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They could easily do that with that. The last choice on this list is just mind-blowing. Cole Sprouse, who is currently playing, I believe it's Jughead on Riverdale.
Riverdale, yep.
Cole Sprouse as Batman. I'm sorry.
Settle down, Beavis. It's not that funny. All right. Breathe in a paper bag or something.
That's like saying, no dissing my but this would be, my equivalent of this would be suggesting Michael Angarano for Batman, and he's all wrong for Batman.
Yeah.
I love Michael to death, but he is not right for Batman.
Nope. Turned out he wasn't right for Luke Skywalker, for Anakin Skywalker either.
No. Best thing that ever happened to him.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
These choices are ridiculous. I'll have a link up to the
I really don't know if the author was trying to be facetious.
No, she's trying
to.
I think she's just trying to stir the pot, because at the end you get a
comment.
The pot stirred. What do you think of our suggestions? Are you excited to see a fresh take on Bats? Sad to see Sad Fleck depart? Let us know in the comments. And I mean, this is just like, are you serious? There's only one comment that I see here from what I can see, and it's some smart aleck who says, "I vote for Cloris Leachman." So,
if you don't have something,
that's almost better than some of these choices.
I'm sorry to that person who apparently thinks there's the second coming of Oscar Wilde. If you don't have something constructive to say, shut it.
Let us know what you think of this list, and let her know what you think. I'll have the link up in the show notes, and you can go over and give her what for if you need to.
The best That's movies. Subject Cinema.
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service. Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning, from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
Arthouse Audio.
I still remember the first time we came here. Martin thought that we had found the perfect place. And, well, it became a home.
We are playing catch-up with some of this year's earlier films, doing the best we can as they come out on DVD, and this one arrived from Oscilloscope this week as part of our subscription service for them, and it is one of the most talked about documentaries of the year. It made its premiere at Sundance and has done a lot of other things since then. Tell us the true story of SANTOALLA.
SANTOALLA is the story of a tiny village in Spain. SANTOALLA is a village that is in the mountains of Spain, and there is one house that has a family still in it. The house, the family that lives there is a man and a woman and her 2 grown sons. Everyone else in the town has moved away, probably seeking, better jobs or employment or whatever, or
Get
just
away from these lunatics.
couldn't be around these people anymore. Since people have left, obviously they left with what they could take with them and left most of their, left the houses behind to rot, I suppose, would be go back to the earth, however you want to word it. Mm-hmm. And this family has been living there ever since. Into their lives come another family. It's a smaller family. It's just a husband and a wife, Martin and Margot, who come to live in Spain. They're originally from Holland. They've decided that they don't want to live in Holland anymore because it's too crowded and there's too many rules, and it's just not the life they want. They feel stifled. So they sell their house and buy a van and tool around Europe for 2 years before settling on the village of SANTOALLA and decide this is going to be where we live. And for a while, things go pretty okay between the families. Everything's, as good as it can go when you have one family and another family living in what is essentially a ghost town, Mm-hmm. But things don't stay perfect. They rarely do when humans are involved. And as Martin tries to build his house into the dream house that he and Margot want, with a campsite for people that want to come and camp there and organic farming and things like that, the other family, specifically the father of the other family, start making a lot of trouble. Arguing about where this goes and that goes and who has the right to what. When Martin and Margot find out that there is money that is supposed to be going to them as well, when a lumber company is using land that's part of the surrounding area of SANTOALLA, money they haven't been getting and money they didn't even know about because this other family kept pretty quiet about it. Things graduate and escalate, and it ends where no one probably thought it was going to end, and it doesn't end well.
The entire story revolves around their arrival here and Martin's disappearance in 2010 after a court battle with this other family.
At least two.
At least two?
Court battles?
Well, yeah, they found in their favor both times.
Yep.
Both the regular court and the appellate court. They showed part of it in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 months after the appellate court, he disappeared mysteriously and hasn't been seen since. This is an interesting film in the way that they all choose to live in this crumbling villa.
Yeah.
Village. Village. Same,
yeah.
You know. I mean, here we are. There were 8 or 9 houses there. There's now 2 that are serviceable, and the second one's only serviceable because Martin and Margot have built it up. The families, Martin, you know, the family that they moved in here with, you know, that's already there, is an old school family. They've been there for all their lives, and their parents before them, so they've spent all this time here. But they keep saying, oh, well, you got to come in, you got to earn respect, blah, 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 blah.
You have to know your place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that nonsense.
They're clearly in of the opinion that nobody else needs to be living there.
Yeah.
Although they were helpful at first, then it got a little bit weird. What was your overall impression of this film?
Well, my overall impression was that the other family was fine with these people living there until it was very obvious that Martin and Margot weren't going to kiss their royal robes,
right,
for lack of a better term. Directors Andrew Becker and Daniel Maher, I don't know how you say your name, sir.
Mm-hmm.
They're the people that made this film. It is a really odd film. It's really a strange and ultimately tragic look at one of the weirdest situations I've ever seen. It's the whole idea and it's the whole look at human nature boiled down into this microcosm of one family and another family. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, it would almost be funny if it wasn't so tragic that by the end of the film, you have these 2 families that are living, like I said, essentially they're living in a ghost town.
Yeah, and they live right next to each other as far as one of them lives up the road above.
One house is above the other.
The family lives up above where Margot and Martin used to live.
Yes.
So.
And these when we say these are the only people in town, we're not being facetious. This is it. You know, the wife, the husband, and her 2 children, and Martin and Margot, and then after what happens with Martin, it's just Margot, and these people don't speak to each other. They're the only people for miles around, and they don't speak to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be hilarious if it wasn't just so incredibly tragic. Jean-Paul Sartre is famous for one of his many quotes, "Hell is other people." And these people are in hell. But the thing is, it's a hell of their own making. When Martin and Margot came here, they viewed it as paradise. You know, they had found this place where they could be who they wanted to be. And even in this place where it's so removed from everybody else and society and society's rules and all that other stuff, you still have people being like, well, we were here first, therefore we have authority, so you have to do what we say. Mm-hmm. When there's no law to back them up, even the law says, no, that's not the way it's going to work. It's just, like I said, it would be funny if it wasn't so sad. There were points in this film that I was just like, why doesn't she leave? Talking about Margot.
Margot, yeah.
I'm like, why doesn't she just leave? I know in my heart why she doesn't leave, and I think it's the same. A lot of people would feel the same way, that she's hoping someday Martin will come back. And Martin does come back, just not in the way she wants him to. And that whole section just broke my heart completely.
Yeah. The other family, and just so we give them equal credit and equal knowledge, the family that's already the only family left living there since for many years until 1997, when Margot and Martin moved in, were the Rodriguez family. Manolo was the family patriarch, his wife Javita, and sons Julio and Carlos,
Julio, yes,
who are in their 40s, 50s, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlos is mentally disabled to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
They have stayed there and stayed in isolation, raising their cows and holding on to the sizable piece of land that they continue to get more and more of, actually, as people left.
Yeah.
It gets interesting.
There's another saying, in the Valley of the Blind, the one-eyed man is king. And you can definitely tell certain people thought they were kings until Margot and Martin showed up. And they were like, we might be in a crumbling graveyard of a village, but we're in charge. We're the ones that make the rules, and you have to abide by them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really heartbreaking. And there's something else that I wanted to bring up that now this is a personal thing. This is a me thing, and you're not going to agree with me on this, and I know you're not. That one thing that we got a lot of from what was the name of the family? The Rodriguez family. The mother's talking about this. One of the sons keeps talking about our land. It's our land. It's blah, 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 our land. On and on and on. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Land belongs to the earth.
Yeah, I'm like, no, it's not. It's not your land. You're working on that land. It doesn't belong to you. You belong to the land. And if more people took the attitude that we're borrowing the land that we're on, it's going to be here long after you're gone, I'm gone, your children are gone, and your children's children are gone, maybe stuff wouldn't be as effed up as it is. And this film is a microcosm of that. That whole, this is mine, and you can't have it. That whole attitude, it's shown in this film, and the damaging consequences of that attitude. Now, I'm not saying that, the whole earthy, crunchy, granola, hippie, Woodstock thing, I'm not saying that works either, but all the time, but
it worked for them.
It worked for them. It worked for Margot and Martin, and their whole thing was that they just wanted things to be better. They wanted things to be better, and the other family wanted things to be the way they were.
And she said it was hard work, but they were happy there.
Even if stuff was falling down around their ears, it was still, it's our way, and that's it. Our way is the only way. Even if stuff's falling down around you, it's still ours. And that's stifling.
Yeah.
That's so stifling. It stifles everything. It stifles life. And this film shows that in such startling clarity on such a small scale.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also something else I want to bring up about this film. Wouldn't you agree the cinematography is amazing?
Yes, it is.
It's so beautiful. The area where this village is just unbelievable. What did you think?
Of what?
Film. I mean,
I already said. I think the film is fascinating. It's a look into a way of life which a lot of us don't really understand how it came to be. And you get to know the people really well, and you really get into their psyche, and you realize why Margot and Martin felt so ostracized by these other people.
Yeah.
And it culminated in nasty lawsuits and everything else. And it's a fascinating film to find out what happens in the end of it. You need to take a look at it, because I don't want to give it away.
No.
It's kind of obvious, but
at the end of it, it's so tragic when you watch so many people's lives get swept up in all of this nonsense.
Yep. What's your score?
I give SANTOALLA an A-.
I give it an A. I think it's very much worth taking a look at. SANTOALLA is just out on DVD and should be popping up on demand anytime soon. check your local Redbox or check your Netflix DVD rental.
Mm-hmm.
This game. It's a rabbit hole. After only 4 moves, there's more than 300 billion options to consider. We take you very close to the edge.
Who taught him to move like this?
He taught himself. If I take the pieces away, he just keeps playing in his head day and night.
I can tell you he has great potential.
American chess prodigy Bobby Fischer became the youngest ever grandmaster in the history of the game. Where did you go from here?
Kim has been finding all kinds of classics here and there when she's trying to get things caught up over the years. And yesterday, she happened to come across a movie she's wanted to see for quite a while and took a look at it. Going back to 2015, and Tobey Maguire co-starring with Liev Schreiber in the story of the Bobby Fischer-Boris Latsky chess game in the 1970s, Pawn Sacrifice. What'd you think?
Pawn Sacrifice tells the story of, as you mentioned, the Bobby Fischer-Boris Spassky chess match at Reykjavik, Iceland, and what led up to that, which is what we're dealing with in this film because we're going back and forth. It's a very non-linear film. We're in the present of the time. We're in the past. We're here, we're there, we're everywhere. Bobby Fischer is a young man from New York who is a chess genius. He started playing chess as a very young man. He was 6 years old and was in love with the game. Unfortunately, that love didn't translate to anything else. He has very little love with anyone around him, really. He doesn't seem to be emotionally attached to anybody. His mother, his sister, nobody. Bobby's big determination is to be one of the greatest chess players in the world, if not the greatest chess player in the world. The thing is, the more he becomes a better chess player, the more brilliant he is at playing chess, the less human he is. He is constantly viewing other people as cheating. He accuses the Russians of throwing games and things when he's in tournaments so that other players can move up the rankings and things like that. He constantly feels like he's being watched, something that probably started in childhood because his mother drummed that stuff into him because she was involved with some dodgy political stuff. And the film goes on and on dealing with Bobby and his time at when he was, growing as a person, as a chess player, and the people around him and how they were, well, for lack of a better term, using him for their own agendas. Specifically, a man named Paul Marshall who comes to Bobby and wants him to be the shining beacon of, American underdog climbing to defeat the evil Soviet Empire. This is back at a time when a lot of people who are listening to this podcast probably don't remember things like the Cold War and all that stuff.
No, probably not.
This was a time when there was a Soviet Union, which there isn't anymore.
There is. There's just not the same Soviet Union.
Well, it's the whole idea that, we were a step and a half away from nuclear war was very real to people back then. Mm-hmm. And it was the whole idea that you had the evil Russians against the plucky United States. And Bobby was kind of spearheaded to be this American hero that was going to defeat the Russians, specifically Boris Spassky, the Russian champion. The problem is that you can call somebody Captain America all you want, but if they're not Steve Rogers, they're not Captain America. And Bobby Fischer was as far from Captain America as humanly possible. He is a really damaged individual, and it becomes very obvious during the film his ever-increasing lists of demands and all of the things that he wants done before he'll even play chess. The amount of money that he's looking for to be paid to him, I didn't even know they paid people to play chess. All of the demands, the places that he wants to play, the places that he won't play, the fact that he won one game during this whole big match in Iceland, it's like a series of games, he never even showed up for. The second game, there was like 24 games or something like that. The second game he forfeited because he just didn't show up. Because according to this film, he was too busy tearing his hotel room apart looking for bugs. I mean, tearing the room apart. I'm not talking just unscrewing the phones. I'm talking taking photos off the wall and slicing up the back of them, trying to make sure there weren't listening devices in them. Just completely tinfoil hat, bat guano, crazy kind of stuff. It all culminates in the big matches that occurred in Iceland against Spassky, and what happened from there, and what happened to Bobby after. The cast includes Tobey Maguire as Bobby Fischer, Seamus Davy Fitzpatrick as the teenage Bobby Fischer, and Aidan Lovekamp as the young Bobby Fischer. Liev Schreiber as Boris Spassky, Lily Robb as Joan Fisher, Bobby's sister, Sophie Nélisse as Joan when she was a young girl, Peter Sarsgaard as Father William Lombardi, a priest, chess aficionado, and spiritual advisor to Bobby, who is Jewish, who has a Catholic priest spiritual advisor. I don't get it either. Michael Stolbarg as Paul Marshall, Robin Weigert as Regina Fisher, Conrad Pia as Carmine Nigro, I don't know how you say this, I'm sorry, Evelyn Brochu as Donna, Katie Noland as Maria, Edward Zinovev, hope that was right, as Efim Geller, and Brett Watson as Chief Arbiter Lothar Schmid. I'm going to be really honest. This stuff happened while I was alive. I was 3, and I don't remember a damn bit of it. My parents were not chess people by any stretch of the imagination and would not have been watching this. According to the film, this captivated people all over the country. The people were watching this chess match on TV and all the hoopla around it. I don't know anything about that. Like I said, I don't remember my parents ever bringing it up. I don't know about you. Anything on your end you'd like to add to this?
No.
No, nothing?
I didn't see it.
No, okay. No, I meant the whole thing. I mean, do you remember? You're older than me.
Oh, well, I remember it vaguely, but not that much older than you, so I don't remember the whole thing. I remember it being covered on television.
Yeah, okay.
And that's about it.
Pawn Sacrifice, directed by Edward Zwick, is, it's really weird when you do a biopic about someone. You're dealing with somebody's life, and you have to pick and choose what you're going to talk about, and it's very difficult to make somebody the protagonist of your film when they are wholly and utterly unlikable. And I think if you could actually put a definition of unlikable in the dictionary, you would see Fisher Bobby. This
like
guy,
Rose pasted Clem's picture in the dictionary for hog.
Yeah. This guy, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be unkind. This man was severely mentally ill and needed help. I mean, maybe his genius at chess pushed out the part of his brain that would have made him a decent human being. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't even play one on TV. But this was a person that had this amazing gift and could have been such an inspiration, and just completely pissed it away.
Mm-hmm. By choice, though.
I don't know if by choice. I mean, mental illness isn't a choice. You don't choose to be mentally ill.
No, true.
And this man was definitely severely mentally ill. I mean, I don't know if he was a paranoid schizophrenic, but I think he was pretty damn close. Toward the end of his life, he was violently anti-Semitic, very anti-American, said some truly awful things after 9/11. I mean, we don't go into that in the film, obviously, because we're dealing with what made him famous. But have you ever heard of the term scared of success? Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
This guy was also a textbook example of that. The whole concept of being afraid to succeed. Because once you've succeeded, where do you go from there? I think a lot of people have that problem. It's the whole idea of once you get everything you want, once you reach that goal in life, what do you do next? And I don't think it's a spoiler alert to anybody to say that Bobby Fischer winds up winning this big tournament and became, the grand champion and everything like that. We see this point in the film, and he's standing there on stage, he's being applauded, and everybody's, he's at that point in his life when he's achieved his life's goal, and he looks dead. His eyes look so dead, and I cried. I sat there and cried, because I was like, you've achieved the goal that you wanted in life. Why aren't you happy? That just broke my heart. It really did. And that's more to do with Tobey Maguire's performance than anything else. I mean, physically, does Tobey Maguire look like Bobby Fischer? No. Physically, does Liev Schreiber look like Boris Spassky? Not especially, no. Although he did a hella good Russian. He did amazing at that. This film takes a lot of historical stuff and stretches it like taffy. Certain things didn't happen where they did in the film, but it was interesting and sad. It was sad. I mean, but by the end of it, it was like, I remember thinking to myself, this guy could have been a huge inspiration to the whole world, and at the end, he was just this sad, sick person. I give Pawn Sacrifice a B+.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
It's time for RIFFTRAX. And it's not an easy job. They watch movies and they make up jokes.
A little bit different this week. Instead of a 13 report, we're going to have a RIFFTRAX report. Because RIFFTRAX has done some great Christmas shorts over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And a full-length movie. So we're going to go back and last year...
Several full-length movies, but we haven't seen Santa Claus and the Ice Cream Bunny.
Last year they did a double feature of 2 earlier shows, and we're going to start with that. Talk a little bit about each of those. Of course, the first one, classic. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yeah.
With Pia Zadora, of 8 years old, is the only name that pops up out of that. I have always thought that movie is pretty funny. I know you don't really particularly care for it, so...
Well, it's dumb. I mean, it's a children's movie. It's back when people thought children's movies had to be oversimplified and stupid. I like to think we're kind of drifting away from that now. Thank goodness. But directed by Nicholas Webster, 1964's Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. is direct. I mean, it's
even the theme song talks about
Santa Claus.
S-A-N-T-Y Claus.
Yeah, I don't know who in the hell's Santa
Hooray
Claus.
for Santa Claus.
I mean, maybe he's Santa's cousin from the Ozarks or something like that. But, no offense to anybody from the Ozarks. I'm sure it's a lovely place to live.
Well, I'm going to take offense to that. I'm not going to put up with that.
All right. Okay.
Oh, Cletus, come here.
Okay. Wow. All right. Anyway, the plot...
Stereotypes. Sorry. Just courtesy of TC. Anyway.
The plot... Snark.
Plot?
Well, there is a plot.
Plot.
Okay, no more candy for you.
I haven't had anything.
Well, maybe you need something.
We don't have anything. Anyway.
Send us candy. Anyway, the plot of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is thus. The children of the planet Mars, the little green men of planet Mars, which I never understood since Mars is red. The children of Mars are in
red
a funk.
Red and green go together.
Well, Christmas, yeah.
Right. Now you get it.
Oh, wow. It took me so long. The children of Mars are in a funk because they don't have Christmas and they don't have Santa Claus, according to the Martian elders, because... Hello, Jesus? Anything? No? Okay, fine.
They don't have him either.
No, I'm like, wouldn't you need Jesus first? Santa Claus came along. Wait, never mind. Forget it.
It's a secular movie.
I know. So the Martians come up with this great idea. Well, if Earth has Santa Claus, we'll just go take him and bring him to Mars, and all the children will be happy and productive again. Hooray! Interplanetary incidents. So Santa gets boosted along with a couple of Earth children, and wackiness ensues, and it's terrible.
It's fun terrible.
It's fun terrible, and
way more fun terrible than Santa Claus, which you like better.
I think Santa Claus is sweet.
Can't stand that one.
I think that one's sweet. This is actually, I mean, if you just take it on the face value of being one of the silliest things I've ever seen in my life, it's fun. And the misty and the riffing, I should say, the riffing that Kevin, Mike, and Tom, Bill, Kevin, Mike, and Bill did for this is really good. They did a really fantastic job. I do want to say that the guy that played Santa, he did a great job. I mean, he was really convincing as Santa Claus, and this really mellow Santa Claus, too. You know, he really kind of went with the whole flow and didn't really seem very worried that he'd been kidnapped by a hostile alien race. You know, he's like totally like, oh, well, I'll deal with this in the best way I can. Let's make toys. You know, and I'm like, all right, that's different. You know, it's dumb, it's silly, but it's fun. You know, it's fun, silly. You don't feel like, oh, I need to like have a stiff drink now, as opposed to the stuff that we got subjected to in the shorts.
Well, let's talk about the short that went with that first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Which short?
The short that played with Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Which was what?
That was the fairy.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Santa and the Fairy Snow Queen was the short they played with that specific film the first time they showed it. Santa and the Fairy Snow Queen is just, oh boy.
Out there.
It's way out there. It's so far out there, it's behind you now. Try and wrap your mind around that one. A slumbering...
Today is tomorrow's yesterday.
Ow. A slumbering Santa, try and say that 10 times fast.
Slumbering Santa, slumbering Santa, slumbering Santa, slumbering Santa, slumbering Santa, slumbering Santa, slumbering Santa. I didn't screw up the seventh one.
I win.
Yeah, but I got to the seventh one.
Fine. Is visited by a snow fairy, who, brings some of the toys to life, and it's terrible. It's not even funny. It's not funny. It's not cute.
It's kind of scary, actually.
It's creepy. I mean, it is kind of charming that the two of the dolls fall in love with the lady doll and the soldier doll fall in love, and that was kind of nice. But that one damn doll, the damn Jack-in-the-Box...
Damn? You can't say damn. It's a children's movie.
Am I a child?
No.
Then I can say damn.
Oh, fine.
Fine. The gosh darn jester doll that was in the gosh darn Jack in the Box, I wanted to chuck into the nearest gall darn trash fire. I hated
now, confound it. Stop using language like that.
I hated that thing. That completely creeped me out.
Back in 2009, RIFFTRAX did a whole show.
Passel.
A passel?
Whole passel.
A rasher of old...
You're never going to let that go, are you?
Of Christmas shorts. And they replayed it last year with Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Because we weren't punished enough.
It was called Christmas Short Extravaganza.
Yes.
And quite a few interesting shorts appeared with this film.
Interesting is another way to say eye-searing.
Starting with Christmas Toy Shop.
Yes. Christmas Toy Shop was the short... What was that one about? I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank on that one. I can't think of that one off the top of my head.
I had it pulled up earlier, and now I can't find it. I was looking up here, and I'm like, wait a minute. It was here? All right, so let's go to Visit with Santa.
Okay, A Visit with Santa...
Scary.
It's disturbing and unpleasant and just made me, want to go run to the showers.
But explain why, though.
It just has this whole... It just had this kind of creepy sort of vibe to it that these dolls would all, kill you if you turned your back on them kind of a deal. I mean, I don't know how else to word it. It was just...
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, actually.
It was just unnerving.
It was very creepy, yes.
Following that delightful piece of Christmas cheer up was Christmas Rhapsody, which was the story of a Christmas tree. Actually, it's the story of a fir tree or an evergreen tree or whatever kind of tree it was that wanted to be important and wanted to do something special, but all the other trees made fun of him because he was small. And
it was the tree with Charlie Brown syndrome.
Yeah, pretty much. But he winds up being picked by this family to be their Christmas tree. So they cut him down and brought him in their house and decorated his corpse with candles.
Oh, well, you're not going to let go of that, are you, now that
nope.
Olaf has done that, honestly?
I'm sorry. Well, they brought it up during the short. They were saying, I know. They were killing him and stuff. And I'm like, that is true. I mean, you do kill a tree when you chop it down. I mean, it's not like the tree's going to survive, once you, separate it from the trunk, Following that was 3 magic words. Oh, boy. 3 magic words is all about the joys of pork. Oh, there are so many ways.
Dinner.
There are so many ways I could go with that.
This is a lot older than I thought it was, too. I figured it was from the 1940s or 50s. It's actually from 1939.
I could make that so filthy if I wanted to.
With the members of the Jesters playing the 3 butchers in this film.
Yes. It's basically a 10-minute, 15-minute...
12 minute.
12 minutes, that's all it was?
Yep.
A 12-minute salute to pork. The other
and cooking
meat.
Pork for Christmas dinner.
Yeah, that cooking pork is the best way to go about making Christmas dinner. I'm sorry, when it comes to Christmas dinner, my idea of 3 magic words, let's order out.
You're such a curmudgeon.
I am not a curmudgeon. I am not one for slaving over a hot stove. Next up was a commercial for a toy called Gaylord.
Yep.
Which was a dog, if I remember correctly.
I think
and the
so.
less I say, the less about that, the better. The night before Christmas was next, which is just what it sounds like it is. It is a black and white recitation of that old poem that we all learned at school, acted out and mercilessly mocked by the guys from RIFFTRAX. Following that was another vintage commercial for Jimmy Jet. Yippee. Man, you look at the stuff kids used to have as toys and you're like, wow. Christmas Dream followed that one up, and Christmas Dream was weird.
A lot of these were weird.
Yeah, but this was weird and unpleasant. This was weird and surreal and not in a good way. The whole plot of Christmas Dream was that a little girl gets a new doll for Christmas and promptly chucks her old doll over her shoulder. That night, she has a dream where all of her toys come to life, and they basically scold her for forgetting her old toys and neglecting them and so on and so forth. So it's basically Toy Story without Tom Hanks and...
Oh, wow, you got right in my head there. That's very good.
It's basically Toy Story without Tom Hanks and Tim Allen and a budget. So, the next one
It was made in Czechoslovakia and then dubbed into English. Yeah.
Following up, that was Parade of Aquatic Champions. You saw that. I had to go to the ladies' room.
Yes,
so.
you left me sitting there. Parade of Aquatic Champions was a bunch of not really Christmas-themed stuff, but done Christmas style because it was being shot at Cypress Gardens, Florida, which was a resort down there. It is now Legoland. They have...
it is?
Yes, it is. Where the Cypress Gardens used to be in Pensacola is now the Florida Legoland.
Wow.
They did all kinds of just basically swimming stuff and cute dives and ridiculous non-Christmas stuff, but it was part of their Christmas celebration because, of course, in Florida, Christmas is 75 degrees and sunshine.
Yeah.
I'd
feel really bad.
Pretty surreal.
I'd feel really bad for whoever drew the short straw and had to play Santa Claus. Could you imagine being in one of those Santa Claus outfits?
Santa Claus in a tank top and shorts, and you got it made.
Well, that's an image I'm never going to be able to drink away. Thanks a lot.
You don't drink.
I'm going to start now.
No, you don't. Anyway.
Following that was another vintage commercial for the Dingalings. And I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole or a 12-foot Swede.
Hey,
and
stop stealing my jokes.
And finally, we come to the end of our Christmas extravaganza with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and not the good Rankin Bass version. This was a cartoon of the classic Christmas song about the ostracized reindeer who saves the day because his nose glows red for some reason that's never explained. So, is Rudolph a mutant?
Jeez.
That's a perfectly rational question. That is a perfectly rational question.
He's going to be a new X-Man called X-Nose. I can light up the night with my nostril.
All right, okay. It was I'm sorry, you don't have to be snotty about it. It was a perfectly rational question.
I'm not. You jumped all over me yesterday, though, because I'm not a big fan of the original cartoon.
No.
So.
Communist. So, anyway, that was...
I have taste.
Oh, come on. It's really adorable. And you're just... Now who's being a curmudgeon?
Well, don't forget, Herbie. We're going to have to send Herbie to Elron and the other council at the...
I was going to say, you have to be nice to that one because you have that on your wall at work, so there.
Rudolph's Lord of the Rings Christmas will return in a moment. Yeah.
Thank you,
Funniest thing Bill Amend ever did from Foxtrot. One of the funniest strips ever.
Okay, this is getting off topic again.
Yep.
So that was last year's Christmas extravaganza from RIFFTRAX. Unfortunately, I don't think they're doing anything this year.
They're not doing anything this year, unfortunately, because we would try to get there if they did, but
they need time off with their families too.
Yes,
so,
they do.
Yes, they work
it was
very
crazy
hard.
stuff, and these shorts, most of them are available. You can look around online; they'll probably pop up on Internet Archive or someplace.
You can check out the RIFFTRAX version.
You don't know if you want to, though.
Well.
And it is available. They're both available on DVD, too, yeah.
You can actually check out the RIFFTRAX version of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. You can also check out the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which was a Joel episode, I think. And you can check those out as well. And you could probably do a compare and contrast and see which one you like better.
Yep.
Subject Cinema. Scream and shout.
I thoroughly agree with this. I don't know if Mark really wants the publicity, but, you know.
I think that he should have the publicity for this because it just shows how awesome he is.
All right.
And that Mark is a true Jedi.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill gets this week's Scream and Shout. I know we mentioned last week how awesome Mark is, and this is just more of that, so deal with it.
It's Last Jedi time. Kim's going to be finding all kinds of Mark Hamill stuff for the next few weeks.
Yes, she is. So, deal. Mark, 8 years ago, Mark Hamill did something that was just so amazing and beautiful. He met with a young man who was very sick and wanted, his whole dream was to talk to Luke Skywalker. The person that is bringing all this to our attention is a man named, I'm sorry, I'm going to catch your name here real quick, Ed Solomon. He is a screenwriter. He was known for written a lot of big films, like the screenplay for a lot of films like Men in Black and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He was trying to help out a friend of his. His friend's name is Joe Sikora. Joe's son, whose name was John, was dying of a disease called juvenile Batten's disease, which is something that's very rare, but it's a very devastating disease. It robs kids of their vision and then their motor functions, and usually they pass away when they're in their teens or their early 20s. It's obviously a very serious thing and a very devastating thing for a family. John was an enormous Star Wars fan, and his big dream in life was to meet Mark Hamill. Because of the combined efforts of his father and Mr. Solomon, they were able to get in touch with Mark. They got in touch with Mark's agent, and then Mark himself. 2 minutes after they talked to Mark's agent, Mark called them and said, "I would love to. How about tomorrow?" Mark wound up meeting with John, actually both of Mr. Skiora's sons, and spoke with John, and spoke with him as Luke Skywalker.
He came in character.
Yeah. And talked with him and really cheered up this kid's life, at a point when this kid was, really probably had a lot of people telling him a lot of negative, dark things. Into his life comes his hero, who talked with him and, made him feel, at least for a little while, a little bit better. John died at the age of 23 on September 24th, 2015. And I just wanted to say that Mark is an amazing, beautiful person.
He also tried to get Carrie to do something, but unfortunately, the gentleman passed away right before they could get together with Carrie, who was willing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have always said how special and important Mark is to me and to my life. But it just shows you how important and wonderful and special he is to a lot of other people's lives, because he is that incredibly rare and special thing. He is a good human being. And when I say that Mark is a real Jedi, I'm not meaning that in some weird way. I mean that in the idea that Jedis are supposed to be strong and brave and good and protect the innocent and help people that can't help themselves and be there for people and lift them up. That's what a Jedi is supposed to be. And that's what Mark Hamill is. Mark, you're an amazing person, and that is why I'm trying not to cry.
That's why you get this week's Subject Cinema Scream and Shout Out.
May the Force be with you.
Subject Cinema Scream and Shout.
And it's time to mosey on out of here for this week. Next week on Subject Cinema, we're going to cover all of the major awards from all the critics' festivals and stuff. They're happening over time the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. We got Golden Globe nominations coming out this week also, and we'll have all of that, plus all the film critics groups and stuff, all next week. Plus, we'll try to get in as many new films as we can, mm-hmm. as we try to catch up, because I really need to see some more stuff before I do my poppies and rosies. I'm not happy with my selections right now because we're just so far behind on everything. We also have a lot of other stuff going on throughout the week. We hope you keep checking the site at eCinemaOne.com. eCinemaBoston is down for the next month as we get prepared for a new look for that. If you want more information, check out the article on the PNRNetworks State of the Site address, which popped up last week on eCinemaOne, and keep checking every day for all kinds of new stuff happening there. Mm-hmm. Don't forget the other pay-per-view, other podcasts we have here. Yep. Subject Cinema's Front Row 5 and 10 has been off for 2 weeks. We've just been absolutely swamped. It'll be back this Thursday, no matter what, with our top 10 dumb TV show ideas. Yes. And it'll be fun to do. We also have Subject Cinema's spin-off shows from 3 Minute Weekend and Tuesday Digidex. Those shows are 10 minutes or so each, running down the new releases of the week, theaters on Friday, and 3 Minute Weekend, and home video on Tuesday and Tuesday Digidex.
Yep. There is also my show, Platinum Rose's Garden, which is my Supernatural podcast, which has moved to Sunday nights. This week, I will be looking at this week's episode of Supernatural, which is the mid-season finale, The Bad Place. So I hope you guys will come and check that out over at PlatinumRosesGarden.com. It is not safe for work, but I think you probably figured that out by now. And there is also TC's show. I am not to talk about my show because Catastrophe Vortex is off right now. I just haven't had time to get it done. It will return with a new format in January, so be watching for that, and I do apologize for that. Hopefully, the new format will let me have time to do a little bit more with it, and I hope you'll enjoy it. It'll return in January, as will Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee Wee. They're actually talking about doing a few new shows for Christmas. Hopefully they will, but they continue to blog every week at comicgrotto.com, and their show should be back no later than early January with new episodes. Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon at cavebabble.com. All kinds of great stuff coming from their Midwest point of view with movies, games, trips. Two of their most recent shows are a travel log on their vacation, and of course we always love those because they're just so funny. Yep. I have only had time to listen to part 1 of it so far, but it's so much time driving me crazy. But they got stuck in this hellish traffic jam. It involved pigs. Because of an accident. Yeah. You got to check it out at cavebabble.com. Next week we'll have our awards wrap up for the season as far as we can get it. Plus more new shows, more new movies to review, and we'll have a lot more to come in the weeks ahead, too. It's weekend stuff. Don't forget to check out our year-in review segments popping up on our YouTube channel. You can go over to YouTube /Popcorn and Roses and find them over there. I just posted the 2017 year-in review poster collage like I always do every year. It'll be up on eCinemaOne tomorrow, and I hope that you'll continue to enjoy checking out our YouTube channel. And by the way, no matter where you listen to us, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you're listening to us, don't forget to like it with the big thumbs up or thumbs down, or like it on Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're subscribing on YouTube, don't forget to check the bell and have notifications sent to you when we have new stuff popping up. I've just recently fixed the YouTube, so all of the stuff will be going into the right playlists at the right time. And don't forget to share. After all, it's a great thing to share. We need you to share. Share with us. Share and share alike. Share your thoughts, share your feelings, but mostly share the show with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget, please don't forget, this is the season of giving. Please keep a little aside to help us out too. Subject Cinema's, PNRNetworks, Patreon campaign depends on you. And we do have lots of plans that we mentioned in our recent state of the site. We have a brand new special project coming up in early January. And we need your help to get things done and to make sure we have the best coverage, to make sure we have the best everything for you, not just on this site, but all of our sites, all of our shows. Everything comes to and gets used for everything. So please donate. Patreon.com /PNRNetworks. And I think that's it for now. Me too.
For Subject Cinema, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be better.
And may your roses always be in blue.
Have fun this week. It's getting closer in time to the ghost of Christmas presents.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.